All right, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Atlantic County Board of Chosen Freeholders was provided in the following manner. Published in the Press of Atlantic City and mailed to the Current, the Daily Journal, the Hamilton Gazette, the Hamilton News, and has been posted on the bulletin boards in the County Office Building in Atlantic City, the Stillwater Building in Northfield, and the County Clerk's Office in Mays Landing. If we could please all rise for an opening prayer.
Almighty God, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather together today. Give us wisdom and courage as we look forward to the future. Help us to discover areas in our personal and community relationships where light, peace, and justice are needed as we open ourselves to others and seek God's Spirit. Show us as a nation the way to be a light to all nations and bring our peace and justice to the world. We ask that you be with us and guide us as we do our work. Amen.
Amen. And now we're going to have a moment of silence for several things. First of all, in honor of Murray Rosenberg, I think a household name here in Atlantic City. Ernest, I know you requested that we put that on the agenda for today. Vice Chairwoman Kern also wants us to keep the victims of the recent hurricane in the Bahamas in your thoughts, and if we could all keep the victims and families who were impacted by 9/11 in your thoughts, we would appreciate that as we take a moment of silence.
North Carolina victims too of dairy.
And North Carolina, sure. Thank you. Okay, now we'll have the flag salute. Attention, salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Bennett.
Here.
Bertino.
Here.
Corsi.
Present.
Days.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Ramika.
Here.
Kern.
Here.
Risley.
Here.
And Gata.
Here. You've had an opportunity to review the minutes from July 30th, 2019. If there's no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any freeholder comments on that one? Seeing none, we'll have all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next up, I don't see Barb here. Is anybody here from New Jersey Transit? Okay, I'm going to just hold that agenda item in the hopes that Barb does show up. But we are here in Atlantic City as part of our year-long effort this year to bring the business of the freeholders to the people of Atlantic County throughout the county. And we specifically wanted to be here in Atlantic City, and we thank the folks at the Convention Center for hosting us today, and the AC for their assistance in setting it up. This time last year, New Jersey Transit was not running, and today it is, and we've made some really great strides, and hopefully when Barb gets here, we'll talk about that. If not, I'll go ahead and highlight that, but I did take the train here today from Egg Harbor City. Next train out of here is 4:59, so if you see me running out the door, that's why.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what time is the last train?
I don't know, but the next one after that is like 7 o'clock.
That's when you may be catching it.
Yeah, well, I got stuff going on, so. All right, next up, we're gonna have ordinance number 13, which is up for final reading.
An ordinance amending provisions of section 4-64.10 of the Atlantic County Code entitled Advisory Boards to increase the membership of the Cultural and Heritage Advisory Board from 9 persons to 11 persons. Final reading.
Moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any freeholder comments on that before we open it up? Okay, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Any comments from the public on that one? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Ramika.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gata.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to resolutions. 503.
Amending Resolution Number 451 adopted August 13, 2019, grant application and acceptance for the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Office of the Attorney General for the 2019 Opiate Public Health Crisis Response, Operation Helping Hand to add clarifying language.
Second. Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments on that one? Okay, any comments from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 504.
Grant application to New Jersey Economic Development Authority for Opportunity Zone Challenge Program, amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that one? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, we'll take the chapter 159s together.
Move.
Second. Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments on those? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 507.
Amending professional services agreement to change assignment of the design contract for improvements to Pleasant Mills Dam from the existing engineering consultant to a new engineering consultant, BL Companies Incorporated, no additional cost.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi. Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 508.
Competitive contract with Bacharach Institute for Rehabilitation for the provision of Otago exercise and fall prevention hearing aids for the Department of Human Services, amount not to exceed $63,000.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that one? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes, 509.
Competitive contract with Partners Pharmacy for the provision of comprehensive pharmaceutical services for Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, amount not to exceed $398,800.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 510.
Renewal agreement with Rehab Professional Services Incorporated for the provision of physical, occupational, and speech therapy services to the residents of Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, amount not to exceed $490,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments. Just a comment, we do. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ernest.
Just for the record, for the public, most of these items have been discussed in Budget Committee and was approved to the Budget Committee to move forward. So if you guys going through them, that means they already been discussed.
And that was exactly the point I was going to make. We do have a number of large dollar items on here. We did review them as the Budget Committee and approved to advance them forward. So, thanks, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder comments? Okay, comments from the public? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 511.
Competitive contract with New Vision Systems Corporation for comprehensive software maintenance for all licensing and web hosting services for the Atlantic County Clerk's land document recording system and database license to Atlantic County. Amount not to exceed $504,805.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 513.
Renewal bid contract with Keep Commissary Network Limited Liability Corporation to provide commissary services at the Atlantic County Justice Facility, revenue generating.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi. Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 514.
Bid contract with Medio Construction Company Incorporated for miscellaneous concrete maintenance and repairs at Facilities Management, Drexel Avenue, Atlantic City, and the Green Tree Golf Course, amount not to exceed $139,995 for a 2-year period.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Bisley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 515.
Bid contract with Weatherby Construction Corporation for proposed alterations to the Atlantic County Civil Courts Building, amount not to exceed $2,780,783.
Move.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments on that? Freeholder Risley?
You have someone, Jerry's going to make a presentation.
Oh, Jerry's going to make the presentation apparently. Hop on up, Jerry.
Good afternoon. Brief summary of what's going on in this project. Brief. I'll be brief. I got a pictorial.
Thanks.
All right. What this project is, hello. This project is a single point of entry for the Atlantic County Civil Courthouse. Those of you that don't know, the existing concrete in the front of the building, the existing handicap ramp, the existing steps coming up, it's all being removed. The whole entrance is being extended outwards, okay? So we're going to put a new set of steps, new concrete ramp, a new enclosed turnstile entrance with doors on either side of it. On the inside, we're putting 2 new security stations for the sheriffs. Right now, they have 1. It's all going to have bulletproof glazing all the way around to protect them. There's new lighting, some new flooring. On the opposite side, this is the back rack entrance. The North Carolina entrance is going to be the exit. So everyone will enter the courthouse this way and exit through the North Carolina side. The North Carolina side is going to get done first. Each one of these ends is taking approximately 6 months to complete, start to finish. A lot of nighttime work, all the noisy concrete removal. Once they finish the North Carolina entrance and put a handicap ramp on that entrance, which there is not one now, they'll then move down to do the back rack entrance. The whole project, the timeline is 365 days with a final closeout of 385. That's basically it.
Okay, and we're going to leave that on display if anybody wants to see that in the
Sure. I have,
Our photographic memory, there it is.
there's a couple add alternates which we did not accept with different glazing and different things we had asked to get a price on, which we didn't feel the prices were good, so we're not accepting them. Any questions?
Any Freeholder questions? Okay, any questions from the public?
Jerry?
Jerry's stand by.
I'm sorry?
Probably set it up in the wall.
Great, come on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Creed Pogue, 169 Cumberland Avenue, Estill Manor. Jerry, question on that. I happened to be at the State Police Communications Center for the South Jersey Transportation Authority today, and I saw something I had never seen before, which was the glazing was such that while they could see out, you really couldn't see in. So when you were talking about glazing, it had me thinking about, and I don't know if that's included in there or that was one of the alts that at the moment was put aside, but if they're doing that at the communications center where hopefully barring, Red Dawn or some other crazy movie, there's not going to be that much going on, but just out of prudence. Whereas perhaps at the county court building where sometimes tempers can be such, that maybe that would be something to consider. Again, I don't know where that fit in, Jerry, so
There's no tinted glazing around the security stations. There is in other parts of the building that's going to be done.
So I would ask, was that one of the alts that was?
No, the alternates were like outlets, putting extra quad outlets in, and it's just too much.
But if that's going to be multi-month project, perhaps that could be considered as you get closer to, because you're saying North Carolina's going to be done first, so really Bacharach, where the entrance stations are, would be the second part, would be done later, so perhaps that could be something that could be considered.
We had
to
numerous
be looked at.
meetings, with the city,
Yeah.
the police chief, fire chief, there was probably 30 of us in these meetings, and
Just lifting that up.
Thank you for the suggestion, appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Light, 401 South Shore Road, Absecon. Something that I'd like to point out, just point of interest, is I'm an electrician. We do a lot of work at Atlantic Care, so specifically today, we're renovating the radiology department. And the conversation was there was doors that were put in that were ADA compliant, but not bariatric. So that's another line item for bariatric. I'm not saying that applies to the civil building, but it might be something, so we're not repeating any work, or something we could look into. So there's not many doors, but there's several doors that are going to have to be changed out. Maybe it's all finished now, card readers and all that stuff. So maybe, I just found that out maybe 5 hours ago. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. Anybody else in the public? Okay, any other freeholder comments for Jerry or questions for Jerry? Okay, hearing none, let's have a roll call vote. Thanks, Jerry.
Bennett?
Yes.
Virgino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 516.
Bid contract with Thomas United for the removal and replacement of a dishwasher at Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, amount not to exceed $44,898.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments on that. Comments from the public. Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Virgino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 517.
Bid contract with Landberg Construction Limited Liability Corporation for parking lot improvements for Hamilton Public Works lot, amount not to exceed $299,624.33.
Second.
Motion and a second on all three local bidders, by the way. Freeholder questions?
Madam Chair,
Freeholder Corsi.
I know we had this discussion in budget meeting, and the only thing I failed to ask, what interruption, if any, will that have to do with the employees, equipment moving around, etc.? I failed to ask that the other day.
Yes, Freeholder, of course. We've got that, we'll set that up at the pre-construction meeting. Right now, they're holding us up because there's parts of the bridge, we might be stalled for a couple of weeks, maybe up to a month, until they finish this bridge and where they have material there. But they're moving the equipment around. We're going to start on one side. We'll work together with Public Works, and they'll move the equipment back, and we'll work around.
Thank you.
Believe me, we all want that bridge done.
I know.
Okay. Any other freeholder questions on that? Okay, questions from the public? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Virgino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 518.
Amending Resolution Number 236, adopted April 16, 2019, contract with various vendors to furnish and deliver miscellaneous medical supplies to members of the Atlantic County Cooperative. Net increase $12,748.06.
Motion. Second. And a second. Any freeholder comments on that one? Okay, comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Virgino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 519.
Change order number 2, contract with Arthur R. Henry Incorporated for Cardiff Center parking lot improvements to extend the term date only, no additional cost.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. 520.
Amending Resolution Number 557, adopted December 6, 2016, memorandum of understanding to include 2019 updates to the Atlantic County Workforce Development Board local area plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Ramika?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, I believe the young lady's here from New Jersey
She did, I was gonna just finish out the agenda though.
Yep.
Barb, do you mind waiting?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you. 521.
Memorandum of Agreement between the County of Atlantic and International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, AFL, CIO, nurse supervisors, and authorizing the county executive to enter into a formal written collective bargaining agreement incorporating the terms of the memorandum of agreement for a 3-year period commencing January 1, 2019.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 522.
Jurisdictional agreement with the city of Absecon for the purchase and installation of flexible post delineators of the intersection of New Jersey Avenue, County Route 601, and Ambassador Drive in the city of Absecon, no cost.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 523.
Alternate method contract with New Vision System Corporation for the furnishing of new software modules for the county clerk's computer system, amount not to exceed $156,063.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder questions? Comments from the public? Yes, come on up, Paul. And Paul, hopefully you heard our condolences to you and your family.
I walked in just in time. If it's all right, I'll take a moment of public comment. Paul Rosenberg, Egg Harbor Township. I've raised this before, and I wasn't in time for the previous agenda item for the clerk, but I know that there is a fund set up within the clerk's office based on revenues from the clerk's office that is supposed to be used internally by the clerk's office. It's not sent back to the county treasury. And it should be, or at least every clerk that I met with and questioned when I was running for clerk, told me that they use those funds to upgrade their systems, and that's the intention of it. I'm not sure whether, let me rephrase that. Has anybody asked the clerk why he's not using his funds? And if the answer is he doesn't have enough, then why are his revenues not providing enough coverage to maintain his office?
Thanks, Paul. I don't know, if Jerry, do we know that information off the top of our head?
Oh, Bonnie keeps their trust,
Bonnie.
Bonnie keeps their trust accounts.
523.
Yeah.
523.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're using the county's clerk's trust fund for that.
They are using the county clerk's trust fund.
I love instant gratification.
Thank you for that comment. Any other public comments on that one? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 524.
Intergovernmental Services Agreement with the Atlantic County Utilities Authority to provide laboratory testing services, amount not to exceed $35,000.
Second. Motion second. Freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 525.
Intergovernmental Services Agreement with various municipalities for the purchase, installation, and operation of flashing traffic signal equipment at various locations along the county right-of-way, no cost.
Second.
Motion and second. Freeholder comments on this? Comments from the public? Free, come on up.
Creed Poe, 169 Carmine Avenue, Estelle Manor, and since Estelle Manor is one of the municipalities that's getting help, and my understanding is it's the signal by our elementary school, obviously a very important one for us, particularly as we get close to summer, the shoulder season. So appreciate that, and also I will lift up, I personally delivered a thank you to the chair of Roads and Bridges, but to the board for Cumberland Avenue getting done. My parents, my brother, and I, and all the other residents are very happy, so thank you.
Thanks, Free.
See,
Any other?
even when, so the thing is that there's times where we have questions and there's times we have critique, but when there's times for praise, that should be delivered too.
Thank you. All right, any other comments from the public? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Corsi? Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, they are having too much fun down there. All right, 526.
Intergovernmental Services Agreement with the Atlantic County Economic Alliance to apply for and administer a New Jersey Economic Development Authority Opportunity Zone Challenge Program, no cost.
Second?
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that one. Comments from the public. Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 527.
Intergovernmental Services Agreement with Burlington County for the housing of adult female inmates at the Atlantic County Justice Facility, revenue generating.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that. Comments from the public. Reed, come on up.
Just,
You're
Sorry,
living up,
you wanna say it?
living up to your reputation as the 10th freeholder. Go ahead.
9.5. Well, there we go. I'll lose some more weight, that might work. In all seriousness, I saw that it said 150. About how many are currently going there, and what does that compare with where we are with the maximum capacity for the jail? Because obviously, from time to time, we have those discussions of how all that fits. And
Probably somewhere.
It's now a
around
2-year contract level.
80 to 90, I think, per day now. We're down, we allow up to 150, but because of criminal justice reform, most of the locations are down. With respect to the facility, we're rated at, well, depending on who you ask. With the double bunking, we're 914. The facility itself, without double bunking, 873. We're running about 548 a day.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on that one? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 528.
Resolution of support for participation in the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Resilient New Jersey Grant Program and to adopt the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Citizen Participation Plan, Disaster Recovery Plan.
I'd like you to say that again.
I know.
Second. Motion and a second. Freeholder comments on that one. Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 529.
Alternate method contract with Point Click Care Technologies Incorporated for the furnishing of software modules to Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center for billing and electronic medical records task, amount not to exceed $80,141.31.
Second.
Motion second. Freeholder comments on that. Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 530.
Amending 2018-2019 competitive contract with Rehab Professional Services Incorporated for the provision of physical, occupational, and speech therapy services for residents of Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Net increase $31,050.22.
Move.
Second?
Motion second. Freeholder comments on that. Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. I'd like to take all the appointments together. That would be 531 through 534.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are any of those appointees here today? Okay, seeing none. Any freeholder comments on any of those appointees? Okay, seeing none. Any comments from the public on any of those appointees? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 535.
Authorizing consent for a roadway solicitation event by the Rotary Club of Absecon at the intersection of Mill Road, County Route 651 and New Jersey Avenue, County Route 601, in the city of Absecon on Sunday, September 15, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Move.
Second.
Motion and second. Any freeholder comments on that? Any comments from the public? Okay, roll call vote.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Formica.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes, 536.
Resolution of the Atlantic County Board of Chosen Freeholders recognizing proactive programs and plans that the county and other county-related agencies have implemented to create a more healthy environment in Atlantic County and urging the taking of additional steps to further improve the environmental climate throughout Atlantic County.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Freeholder Brisley, this was your subcommittee. Did you want to
Yes.
make any comments?
Thank you. Just briefly, the four of us are on the committee, Freeholders Kern, Patrick, Lieutenant, myself. We had a number of meetings where we looked at accomplishments that Atlantic County and Atlantic County Utility Authority has done to basically improve the environment that we all live in, and steps to be taken to go forward. It's kind of a statement of policy, and I know this county has been very proactive with the adoption of hybrid vehicles, and we're going to keep moving in that direction. So this resolution really is a statement of policy and what we want to do as a county going forward. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any other freeholder comments? Vice Chairwoman Kern?
I
Sorry.
just, we started this conversation about fossil fuels, that's what we started. And I thank Jerry for all your input as well, and our public health department were involved. And, I mean, the environment, all these issues are extremely important to us, and we want to get out there, we learned a great deal, because we expanded into what you see in this resolution now, including many areas, but we were very, very pleased to know that many things we are doing and have been doing and we are in the program doing. But, I would like people to take a look at that, see the things that we're doing, see the things that we are committed to with our environment within this county.
Okay, thanks. And Freeholder Ms. Patrick?
Yeah, I wanted to describe my perception of the evolution of this resolution. It's a combination of a couple of resolutions that were brought forward in June. And last October, one of those resolutions was mine. Last October, a representative of Clean Water Watch brought to me a list of proposals and ideas that they would have liked to have seen happen here in Atlantic County to combat and acknowledge climate change, flooding in our area, air pollution, litter, all of those things. It took me until June to figure out how to water that down enough so that I thought it might be palatable for this board to take into consideration. But it wasn't. And so like Freeholder Risley said, I think we had 3 meetings, a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours at a time, about 6 or 7 hours, in addition to our regular freeholder meetings. And we talked and took into consideration, we were asked by the county executive to take into consideration procedures and policies that the county already had in place. And while I finally agreed to this resolution, in my opinion, it doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't have any mechanism for accountability, and it reads like campaign collateral. And that is all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other freeholder comments? Freeholder Bertino?
Just a question, I think, from myself, and this is for you, Freeholder. What specifics did you think should have been incorporated? And this goes back to the original question I think I brought to you when we discussed this originally on the floor. And the cost associated, how do you plan on paying for those? Some of those proposals have a direct impact, obviously, on our operation daily and also throughout the county. And we had discussed it where you were able to come up with some kind of numbers to implement the strategy that you were suggesting that we take across the board and we codify it as a specific plan. Have you had a chance to do any numbers or run any math on that from the original discussion of what's different? That's what I was curious
No,
about.
Freeholder, I haven't done that. My job is to come up with ideas that are new and innovative and try and lead. We have an administration that then figures out how to pay for these things, once we can agree on something. We have massive underground fuel tanks in this county. That's a ticking time bomb. I don't know how to what the course of action would be. Jerry says they're not out, they're underground.
We do have some.
You have underground oil tanks here in the
We have
county.
some.
Are they double line? Are they double line? Because DEP required that years
Some of the
ago.
newer ones are, and the only one I think that Freeholder was talking about is the one in Hamilton where we're making some consideration about how to get them in place, and that's the discussion. But they're the only ones.
Yeah, I was curious because I know DEP required years ago any of those single line tanks that were there for fuel had to be pooled. And I was, you had to be nervous about that. We have a bunch of tanks around.
Four lines.
They got to be double line or interior line. Yes, yes, that is understood.
Good for 15 more years.
Okay, so then what? So we'll be reactive instead of proactive. That's my point.
You got to remember the people that we work with, the EPA and DEP, they're people we're working with. We're not working with like some schlep off some side street in whatever county you want to call. We're working with the entities that actually regulate these. That's who we work with, and that's what we're doing. So for example, in Northfield, we moved those tanks a few years back, and they're all double line, and that's the most recent technology. Putting them above ground, I'm not sure you put them above ground. I'm not sure it makes sense anymore. So I'm just saying, Hamilton, they're looking and they're getting, they've gotten quotes, and we've had discussions about how to do those. But then, when you say massive, I mean, you want to make sure what you mean by massive. There's maybe 5 or 6 tanks that we have. And most of them are double line. The one that's not is the one in Hamilton, which we're looking at. I mean, I'm not sure how we're going to dissuade the ecology and the environment in Atlantic County with these tanks in Hamilton. I don't know what to say.
Okay, Freeholder.
Just one other point.
Freeholder Bertina.
That was it, thank you. And one other point I think was important. I've been sitting here quite a few years along with some of the other freeholders. There were a lot of projects and programs that have been implemented through the years that were technology to save the environment. They were electrical systems. They were.
I can hear you on this end.
Yeah.
You can't hear
We
me.
can't hear you on that end either.
But they were.
That signal.
But they were.
Project, Bertina. You're from Hamilton.
Okay, yeah,
Come
I'm a
on.
projector. No, but the point was that there were a bunch of programs, and we wanted to make sure that the freeholder board members that are here today got a chance to hear all that in committee, because we wanted you to be up to date with some of the stuff that we've already been discussing through the years. And I thought that was important at the time when we presented the resolution, that you had the opportunity to sit down in committee and discuss all that. And I thought that was an important part of the time too as well.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about, like, for example, freeholders talk about flooding. I'm not so sure that's within the purview of the Atlantic County government. I listen to some of these things that get raised here. I sit here and say to myself, I don't ever remember hearing flooding being part of any county government in the United States, or let's talk about New Jersey. Presently, when we talk about flooding, primary areas of Atlantic City, you guys, we have all sat through meetings with the Army Corps of Engineers, DEP, talking about opportunities and potential alternatives. Those are in the hundreds and billions of dollars. Those, and I'm assuming at some point in time they will come forward with those. One in particular issue now would be similar to Amsterdam, where they have these massive gates that shut. And, will that work for this area? It could. But, we're talking lots and lots of money to do that. County governments are not involved in that, and I'm not so sure state governments are involved in those. There are things like, you look at the beachfront. DEP has been heavily involved with the towns. You're talking about, you put out jetties, do you put in more sand, the whole 9 yards. Those are questions, I think, that go beyond the county government. So I'm not sure when we get into these discussions whether or not, county government should be, we might be at the table, but I'm not sure we are the solution to those kind of issues.
Thanks. Freeholder Bertina.
Yeah, for the first-time visitor here, or anybody listening to the record tonight being recorded, one might think that we just woke up and decided that we were going to do something for the environment or ecology of Atlantic County. I'd like everybody to know that we in Atlantic County have the only wind farm, and it's over 15 years old, in the state of New Jersey. And it's incalculable how much of our carbon footprint that is taken away from the environment. We have probably one of the most aggressive open space policies that's been going on for over 20 years. And what was that?
Well over 20 years.
John Grizzly's older than me, well over 20 years. So it basically demonstrates us to be on proportion one of the greenest, if not the greenest county in New Jersey. What does open space do? It retires land from any kind of development for a public purpose of recreation. Recently, this board, we banned all plastic and straws in any of the jurisdictions we can control, which are our county parks. About 5 years ago, our ACUA was awarded numerous times converting most of its vehicles to compressed gas, which, although is a fossil fuel, has been demonstrated to be one of the least impacting of the fossil fuels for the combustion engine. And Jerry, I want to ask a question. How many times have we spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the direction by the DEP when we do construction sites and roads here sensitive to the environment? I mean, it's incalculable how much. We talk about what we had to do just at Fire and Mill Road. It was almost a 4-year delay. And we participate in what is called Wetlands Mitigation Bank, as well as Pinelands Mitigation Bank. If we have to disturb something in the environment, we make sure through those processes that we set aside land in other areas that can never be developed. I also want to ask another question, Jerry. How many times has the DEP or the EPA cited Atlantic County for an unsafe environmental condition in our county that we had control of?
We don't get cited very often. It's rare.
I heard it was 2 times in 23 years. So, and it was on when it was brought to our attention. So I don't want anybody listening to this meeting for the first time to think that this Freeholder board, the one before us, the administration before this one, isn't keenly aware of the environment and hasn't had a good practice in place for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Freeholder comments? Okay, I think it's important to just, we are here to be leaders, and being leaders is more than just having an idea. It's to have a plan behind it and to have resources to support it. And if we don't, we have to go find it. So I think all of us have a gajillion great ideas of things we want to do, but we can't just put it out there and say, have at it. We have to go out and figure out how to execute it. So I think we've had a lot of really good ideas, and I think we're urging to continue those, and I think we're also trying to urge the state to take greater steps in some of these things that will have a greater impact if statewide we're doing it. So. All right, with that, let me open it up to, did I do that? No, did I open this to the public?
No.
We did not vote.
I didn't open it public yet. Open it up to the public. Free. We have a motion, we second. Freeholder discussion. Public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Labor Day is thought of as the unofficial end of summer. It's also thought of as the unofficial start of another season. And when I read through this particular resolution, and I am not saying that obviously one cannot comment on people's motives, but it is far more on looking for support or approval for the things that have been done than in truth talking about what would be done for the future. And even in doing that, it would seem as though some things are perhaps stretched a little bit too far. For instance, there's the talk about the Clean Communities program, making it sound as though that's all from Atlantic County. And while certainly our friends at the Utilities Authority and now the Improvement Authority are working with that, and of course then that money goes to the municipalities and then to the volunteers, and so people like me and other groups wind up helping to clean up the roads. That's ultimately state funds, and that's not mentioned in here. The impression would be, again, for people who don't know any different, that it's somehow from county property taxes, and that's not, simply wouldn't be true. The talking about recycling, which I think was, I want to say it's subletter E, I'm doing this on my phone, subletter E under point 5, I guess on the third whereas. Anyway, it's talking about the latest information on recycling and how that exceeds the state goal. The numbers from the Department of Environmental Protection are from the year 2016. They say that Atlantic County is successfully has a recycling rate of 61%, which is the same as the recycling rate for the state as a whole. However, there are 10 other counties, including down here, Burlington, Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem, that are the same or far better. And granted that we have the casinos, which is always an issue on that. I don't dispute that. But again, the patting on the back part just seems a little overly aggressive. There was discussion about the underground tanks, and I would think it's important to know, are there 5 or are there 6? Is there 1 or are there more than 1 that is single line? And if you're looking at 15 years, if you're just going to say, well, in 15 years it will be addressed at the end of what we hope is the useful life, then the action item number, what was that, number 8? For the county to investigate and research alternatives to the continued maintenance of any county-owned underground oil fuel tanks and to remove them whenever possible. If the plan is 15 years from now they'll be removed because then they're done with the useful life, again, that's a different impression than we're going to see what we can do. That may not be tomorrow, but we're going to see what we can do as soon as we can do it. Instead of, well, in 15 years, that'll be addressed. Again, it seems to be giving a very different impression from the paper or from the electronics than would actually be the full reality. There may be important questions as far as, do we know what the county government, let's exclude the Utilities and Improvement Authority for a moment, what is the county government carbon footprint? If your goal is to reduce it, you would need to know first what it is. How many tons of CO2 are generated by county facilities? And then one can have a discussion of where that should go. It's just a point to be made that this resolution perhaps at best is premature. How many building energy audits have been done? Because that was mentioned in action item, I'm calling them action items, but that's what seems to be here. Number 9, the county to commit to be proactive in adopting and putting into practice recommendations from energy audits to enable the county to be even more energy efficient. Do we know? I mean, obviously I don't know how many of you do or what report you had on it, but how current are the energy audits for county facilities? How many more are you wanting to do? Where are you with those recommendations? And Freeholder Bertino, you did mention a very important point of the cost. You know, and it's one thing to say, well, there's certain things that are not going to be done because of cost, and that's fine.
but then there's been a discussion, there's been some sort of conversation. But instead, just saying, well, we're committing to go ahead on the recommendations. Again, this sounds like the type of thing that gets said a lot post-Labor Day and before the first Tuesday after the first Monday in the 11th month of the year.
But are you indicating that this resolution is political? Or has a tone of being political?
I would say in trying to be nice, that the connotation is that it is geared for this particular season of the year.
The selling season.
Well, I think it should be noted, this has been being discussed for a long time.
Madam Chair, I'm well aware of that, but I'm also obviously aware that now is when it's been presented, and also looking at how things are put together here. I could be wrong, but I don't believe there's been a resolution, unless someone's about to retire, applauding past accomplishments. There's been various times a dignified person, dignitary has come to the board, or a county employee who's done a lot of good service, and we talk, and therefore there's a discussion about all those past accomplishments. To just pick September of 2019.
No. Hold on. Let me stop you right there. All due respect. We're not just picking September of 2019. What happened was we had several resolutions, okay? One of them was just a list of, things, let's go do it. And we kind of said, well, wait a minute, we are doing some of these things. Let's talk about what we are doing. That led to a conversation of, let's talk about and celebrate the things that we have done. Let's make note of that, let's educate, and then let's try to come to a compromise, and the committee can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I wasn't involved in your meetings. Let's try to come to a compromise with, we have this information, things we've done, and we have this information of things that we would like to consider doing, and let's try to put them all together in one resolution. It didn't just happen to show up, it happens to be when they've gotten done talking about it over the course of several meetings.
Several months.
And the entire committee approved it.
And it would appear, with all respect, that if the impression is being given that Clean Communities, as the most blatant example, is somehow all a county program when the funding is coming from the state. Madam Chair, I'm just saying those are, we all know the fact because the board passes the Chapter 159 resolution to accept the money.
I think we could very easily, amend that one line and say, the county clean communities program as funded by the state. If that's the sticking point.
Well, I just listed a bunch of others, for instance, talking about the progress on recycling, when there's a number of other counties that are doing as well, or most of those 10 are doing far better.
Sure.
To your point, just on a couple of issues. One, like you talked about facilities energy audit. We've completed facility energy audits. You may not be aware of it. It's not like we run out here and discuss it every day for the news, but the stuff was done in-house. We had recommendations on that we acted on a couple of years, but it might be 3 years Jerry, was it 2 years or 3 years ago we did the energy audit to go around all the facilities because we looked at savings on replacing some of the electrical switches, the mechanisms in all the facilities, automatic light bulbs to try to help with the energy obviously that we're using, but also moving in the right direction like we should be doing to be more efficient, with the county funds. So there's to sit here and say that just reading this resolution and making statements about past history or how the county's reacted in the past, it's really a little unfair. And it's also inaccurate on your part because you don't have the knowledge or understanding of some of the stuff we've done. And that's why I thought it was important in that committee. Some of this discussion went on that we let everybody know that we're newer to the board, some of the stuff that has been occurring, so you don't think this is just something that just came out of the blue, or it's something we want to make some kind of a statement on, because that's not the case. That's not how county government operates in this county. And this freeholder board won't let the county operate like that.
But Freeholder Bertina, through the chair of the state, Freeholder Bertina, with respect, you look at that item 9, for the county to commit to be proactive in adopting.
any new technologies that come out.
And putting into practice recommendations from.
How would you read that? I read it as new recommendations, and new technology comes down, we'd be taking advantage of it. I'm not looking at what we've done in the past. How do you want to view that?
To enable the county to be even more energy efficient. And so that, okay, but the whole thing is, from that is, what was the baseline? What recommendations have not been done, whether because of cost or other issues, and where does that go? And what is the plan to do that or not do that? And maybe for some of the recommendations, it is decided it's cost prohibitive, and that's certainly a valid point of discussion, but
But that's not done, that's not done it's not done in a freeholder resolution.
No.
So if you asking me what we've done, I'll give you exactly what we've done.
Yeah.
So we decided to move forward on LED lighting. We did it. We did it on the Lila Road, we did it on Jimmy Lee's Road, we did it in our parking lot. We are going to do it over the course of 3 months, figure out how much we save, and then we'll move to the next areas. We have well over 1,000, for example, traffic lights. We made them LEDs years ago. We had probably 1,200 street lights, and we've already begun looking at the LEDs there. So on that issue, we've already moved forward. We wouldn't put that. We would never recommend that going into resolution. Right now, for example, we have a study that Freeholder Meeting talked about. We're looking at, and we've gone out and we've gotten quotes from somebody to go ahead and design an energy efficient COB. Is it the whole 9 yards on the HVAC? Was it including the children's and everything? So that's what we're doing. We don't put that in a resolution.
I didn't.
You know,
All right.
just
Can I ask you for specifics? I'm
Guys,
just saying it. Sorry.
No, Creed, I want to let you finish your public comment, so please go ahead.
Not asking for some 55-page thing with all different things. However, again, if we're acting as though here's a series, there's still some unmet recommendations, there's no way to measure from any of this whether they're doable or not. For instance, going back to that discussion about the underground fuel tanks. And what?
Jared, I don't want to go back and forth, Jared. Just let's finish your comment and then we'll proceed.
Well, and that's also the stuff on good work's been done on electronic and hybrid, electric and hybrid vehicles. Again, talks about a proactive plan. How would you measure any of that? And I'm just saying that for that, and I'm trying to be respectful of time, because now the lady is here, but you've got no way to, from this, to truly measure going forward what's going to be involved, what in reality are you committing to or not committing to, as far as cost or time or anything else. And so from that, I understand a lot of times when put into it, I would still submit to you, and we had an earlier discussion regarding the stupid little thing with the sign for a building is no longer there, and how long that took. That's a whole other, that you or I are involved with, but just stuff happens. I would just submit to you that it may well be premature for this language at this point without any type of deliverables or other benchmarks that you would use to say, okay, this is where we are, this is where we're going. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and have a roll call vote.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
All right, Freeholder Meeting, did you have a comment?
A multitude of them.
Okay.
Let me just start by saying, I appreciate Creed's input in terms of this resolution. But I must admit from the very outset, every last one of us, all 9 of us, even the county executive, we put stuff on the agenda and it's always political. We're political people, we're political junkies. And at the end of the day, some of us are going to bring up some stuff on the agenda, whether we like it or not, and it's political. And if it wasn't political, we wouldn't be here, and it wouldn't be on the agenda. Saying that, You can question the timing of it if you wanted to. I'm not confused, but what strikes me is that there's been apparently a few meetings to discuss this resolution or those resolutions. And hearing from both sides of the aisle of it, they come to an agreement. But you have to, being as frank, I would tell you this time, as astute as I am on some issues,
He's admitting he's a student.
on some
That's
issues,
true.
on some issues. I get it, because when you want to toot your own horn, you put up stuff, and we all got the same letters from the county executive that talks about various things around the county. That stuff's good. Our constituents reap the benefits of it. Whether you brought it up 4 months ago, whether you bring it up today, we can all say it was just politically motivated. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I still say that we as collectively have a responsibility to have a clean and safe environment for all of our constituents. And I'll be the first to admit that it always strikes me that certain individuals will send paperwork to the Board of Freeholders and stuff appears on the agenda. We have to understand that we are a separate and apart branch of government, but unfortunately some of my colleagues still don't understand that for whatever reason. But this particular resolution, I think it sets the tone. Yeah, it could be a lot of corrections, a lot of add-ons, or was it well thought through? I don't know, I'm not on that committee, but it was clear it was a split 2-2, and it came out of the committee, apparently from what I'm told, at least from what I heard up here, unanimous. And so, moving forward, I think that you still can come back and make some amendments, made some changes to this particular resolution. I don't know how long it's been hanging around, but it's been a while. But I'm glad to see one resolution opposed to two resolutions on the agenda attempting to say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And don't get it wrong and twist it. Some words have been changed around, but be as it may, I think that at the end of the day, we can all boast to some extent on the way the county is run and look. More of it the way it looks than it is run. Because we do have a nice, clean county. And so, you know, it's political season, I get it. Everybody's grabbing headlines. If you're not running, you act like you're running. But the fact of the matter is that we still have a responsibility to the taxpayers of Atlantic County. And I think we should put our best foot forward. Again, it's one of the situations where we can agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, what's in the best interest of the residents we elected to serve? And Frank, that does not call for a rebuttal.
Well, if I'm going to allow freeholder comments after we've already had freeholder comments, I'm going to have to allow them to go ahead. So,
I just want to make one comment.
Frank.
I reserve the balance of my time.
Okay. If we're going to amend this resolution, I want to eradicate chillers.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right.
Why so?
I don't hear any call for amendments, so let's go ahead and have the vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Morrissey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
No.
Formica?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Bisley?
Yes.
And Gaddis.
Yes. Okay, we're going to head back to the top of the agenda. Ms. Barbara Lazaro, I'm going to ask you to come on up front. And as you're making your way, I'll give your title. You're the Regional Manager, Government and Community Relations for New Jersey Transit. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the agenda, we're here today, a year later. A year ago, we were having, I think, a much uglier type of meeting here down in the lobby. And certainly we've come a long way in a year. And so for those who may or may not know, Senator Brown, Executive Director Corbett, I think, in New Jersey Transit had committed to meeting with us at some point. Senator Brown called him and said, okay, you said you would meet, let's meet. And so we've successfully been holding stakeholder meetings over the last maybe 2 months or so, I'd say, 2 or 3 months. That includes yourself, myself, members from CRDA, members from Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce, Local 54, several members from New Jersey Transit. I'm sure I'm excluding somebody else. ACEA is on there. So we've had a lot of stakeholder meetings, and I think that New Jersey Transit has become a great partner. And I think our communication and our relationship has changed immensely from where we were a year ago. So what we've done as a committee and what we wanted to update the board on is we have developed short, medium, and long-term goals as a stakeholder committee, which we'll make sure we get to the board if you haven't seen them already. And we are working on putting together a plan and resources to execute those. So before I get into detail a little bit of those, let me just kind of allow you to speak a few minutes on your thoughts on the stakeholder committee and how where we are with New Jersey Transit a year later.
Okay, thank you. Freeholder Chairwoman, I appreciate the invitation today, and I'll certainly come back anytime you need any updates on anything. And I've had the pleasure of working with several of the freeholders sitting on the board here, whether it's a bus stop issue, a bus shelter, Atlantic City Rail Line Station issue. I'm happy to assist and try to facilitate the resolution of whatever the issue is. That's my job, and I go through all the layers of bureaucracy and try to get the answers for you. So I appreciate that. I echo your sentiments. I think we're off to a great start with a relationship, a positive relationship, a relationship that's been very, very productive between the time we started in June and now September. And I'd like to highlight a couple of things that we've done.
Yes,
we were able to successfully add a train in the morning and in the afternoon, early evening hours for the air show. That was a major feat based on what's happening within our system with all of the trains utilizing the positive train control system, the installations, the retrofitting. Now we're dealing with software issues with our engineer shortage. Currently we have 4 classes of engineers scheduled to graduate by the end of the year, 7 classes concurrently. But the problem is once those engineers do graduate, they have to qualify and be certified to the lines that they are assigned to. So again, it's a process that takes time, but we're well on our way. So between the equipment issues related to positive train control as well as the engineer issues, we were very, very happy to be able to add that service on for the Atlantic City Air Show. Total trips for that day was about 1,600. The added train out of Philadelphia to Atlantic City with all stops, we had about 225 persons on that train. All of the trains going in from Philadelphia to Atlantic City total for the morning hours, as I said, we ran about 1,600 people. And that's actually an increase in our average ridership for the month of August. So people were riding, and maybe next year, we can do a little bit more advanced promoting.
Yeah.
We were happy to promote it on our website. We had a significant space on our homepage devoted to the air show. We linked it with the travel options related to, train travel. We promoted it on all of our social media platforms. So we really made a big effort to promote it. But, maybe next year, based on, the stakeholders committee recommendations, we can do this a little earlier and maybe more people will utilize that. Something you suggested, Freeholder, was highlighting the jitney service. Many people do not know that once you get off the Atlantic City Rail Line, there's an option for free jitney service. And we did focus on that in our press releases, touting the service, as well as our discounts. Families, can ride for virtually very, very little on holidays, weekends, military discounts, senior citizen discounts, people with disabilities. We have discounts available for all of those categories. So we were trying to focus on that too. So we're very happy to partner with organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and things like that, the CRDA, to help promote our services, especially for a big event like the air show is. So we were very happy to do that. On July 28th, we made an adjustment to our service schedule. A lot of our customers were experiencing delays on the line. And we looked very, very closely at it, and we discovered that due to a restricted speed reduction, that the delays were accumulating from the morning through the afternoon to the evening. So we were able to make a very, very minor adjustment to the schedule, and on-time performance rose to over 95%, which is the gold standard in the transit industry. So we're very happy to make that kind of adjustment. Those are the things that we can do internally. Look at issues and problems and work and resolve them to the benefit of our customers and our stakeholders. The continued dialogue with the Atlantic City stakeholders through our meetings and our conference calls is very, very important, because we need to know what we can do to assist. When we lay out short-term, midterm, and long-term goals, some of them are much more easily attainable than others. Long-term goals such as infrastructure improvements, bridge rehabilitations, double tracking, all of those are long-term goals that may or may not, come to fruition because, money is always a concern. And unfortunately, ridership on the line has been in decline since 2012. Between 2014 and 2018, ridership declined 28%. Industry-wide, there's a decline in transit ridership, so it's not unique to New Jersey Transit or to the Atlantic City Rail Line. But right now, when employment is high and gas prices are low, people are not taking the train.
So we did talk about that performance this year over the prior year, month over month, was slightly higher. If I
Yes. When we did restore service, that period between May 12th and May 28th, we experienced a 19% increase, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That did not hold. We kind of went back to our same levels in June, July, and August, but that was a great spike. So summer is sometimes a little lower ridership-wise because of people taking vacations. Our regular commuting public, they're taking vacations. So I think we can, partner and promote our services throughout the summer because this is a great place, a great destination, and I think we can all work together toward, more positive advertisements for that.
If I could just highlight a couple of things that we've set for those short-term goals.
Yes.
We had talked about establishing communication and cross-promotional opportunities. We got commitment even on some funding for that from CRDA, Chamber of Commerce. Atlantic County, we offered up, doing some news releases as well, using our website as well. So everybody kind of chipped in on that, which was great. We established a single point of contact for events so that we can give event information to you. I think something that we learned that was interesting is that it takes about well over a year lead time to actually add a train and an engineer
It's not easy,
to do that. So now that we know that, we're planning for that well in advance. So I think that's something that came out of it. And again, we saw you step up to the plate for the air show, which was phenomenal. We talked about, again, marketing to Philadelphia more, also to try to get people from here going there as well.
And we are getting ready to launch a fall marketing campaign, which will include that. So that was a great suggestion.
Perfect. And we also talked heavily with Local 54 about trying to make some schedule adjustments to align with the casino shift worker shift timings. So that is something that we're looking to do, and I'm getting some information from Local 54 on that. We have talked about, you mentioned it, reducing the cancellation, the delays, just looking at what we can do to also improve that. So I think from a short-term perspective, I think we have some very tangible things that we could accomplish. Again, we did establish medium and longer-term goals. You mentioned some of those longer-term. Some of the medium ones are, seeing what we can do to promote transit villages and some of our other stations along the line.
And excuse me, both Atlantic City and Absecon have made a pre-application for transit village designations, which is great.
Yeah. And we've also talked about what can we do with those other towns along the line to help promote how people can get from, let's say, Egg Harbor City or Hamilton to their destination, because they might be a little bit far from the actual train station. We learned, interestingly, from Bob McDevitt that South Jersey Transportation Association has some free shuttle service available from the Egg Harbor City line. There were just a lot of things that came out that I don't think a lot of people widely knew, and those are the things that we want to try to get that information out as a first step. So again, we'll get the full report of the stakeholder group, all the goals that have been identified to this board to take a look at, and certainly right now I'm the liaison just as the chairperson of the board. Certainly, happy to take any thoughts, feedback, questions, or ideas to our next stakeholder meeting. Anything else you want to say?
No, we're looking at, scheduling another call with the stakeholders and looking at those midterm goals, tackle those next and see where we go with that. We're continuing to enjoy the dialogue and the productivity we've established.
Great. And again, I think the attitude has changed immensely, I think, from New Jersey Transit from what we saw a year ago, and I certainly appreciate that. So.
And we appreciate your input also.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions or thoughts from the board?
I just appreciate we continue the conversation and continue moving forward on this. Maybe we can make changes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Freeholder, of course.
You can take your seat. I was just a comment that last year, as we all talked about, we had the Teachers Convention, the League of Municipalities, now the trains are back up and running. Last year, folks were saying they weren't going to bring the conventions back if the trains weren't running, so we hope that they take full advantage that it's up and running.
Yes, I agree. Thanks, Freeholder. Okay, that concludes our printed agenda. So let's go to reports of special committees. Any reports? I guess that was my report from my special committee. There we go. Any other? Okay. Go to Bennett. Oh, sorry, that's your hand. Go ahead.
I'm all the way down here at the end. I just wanted to highlight that I got reappointed to the Human Services and Steering Committee, Education and Steering Committee for the National Association of Counties. So just look for me to periodically give reports on that committee. So.
Great. And thank you for representing us there. We appreciate it. Okay. Any other special reports? Okay, seeing none. Any unfinished business?
Oh, no, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to refer to my chairperson of Education Committee. She can give us a brief report on our meeting on yesterday.
We did have a meeting yesterday. We were just trying to get together our goals, exactly what we're looking for. We are currently in the process of setting up a meeting with hopefully the county superintendent or somebody within his department, as well as the other superintendents throughout the county, to start the conversation going in regards to ACIT and the issues concerns.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything, Freeholder?
No, I think you covered. We're just looking for dates, sir.
Yeah, for October 1st.
Okay. Looking for October 1st. All right. Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Okay, any new business? Okay, seeing none. Written communications, petitions. Anything there? Seeing none. Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. Anybody in the public wish to comment? I'm going to go to Paul first, then Creed. Oh, okay, he's the front.
Well,
He's the
I
only.
spoke far more than.
Oh, man, okay.
Normally, I don't have much of a problem with standing up in public, ready to put my foot in my mouth, but I have to admit I have a bit of a lump in my throat this evening. I come to these meetings as some sort of morbid fascination and as a hobby pretty regularly, and walking through the door, hearing Dad's name was very touching, and I wanted to thank you for that. He always lived by some simple rules, and he always spoke about them to his friends and to his family frequently. You could never be overdressed, was what somebody always told me as a kid. Your enemies always come back, and treat them the way you should treat them. Always know that you're not the smartest guy in the room, and never let the truth interfere with a good story. But his most important and the most frequent was always stand behind your friends. And I can tell you with honesty, he lived every day for his friendships, for his relations, and for business partners, things like that. And it's a shame that the man was a neophyte. He did not have an email address, didn't know how to text. Facebook would be totally foreign. But I have received more messages through text and 9 different countries, all 50 states, and literally dozens and dozens and dozens from New Jersey, forcing me to look at him as more than my father, as a community-involved individual, a relentless advocate for what he believed in, whether it was Atlantic City or the taxi industry, transportation in general. But he always believed in his friends, and that is one that I have always tried to live up to. Big shoes to fill in this particular case, but Freeholder Corsi, I'm sure you knew him longer than I did. I had him for 40 years, and I'm blessed to have had it. Thank you for insisting on mentioning him tonight. Madam Chair, thank you for doing it, and thank you to the board in general. I hope I can continue the friendships that he started. Roger, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Madam Chair, before we take a seat,
Sure.
if I may, let me just say that when you talk in terms of friendship, Dad was a friend. And he was a friend to a lot of us, whether we were political or not, and would help anybody. And it showed down through the years. I think I was just as shocked as most folks when that news came out. But this community has certainly lost an icon. His work will speak for itself. But when you look around Atlantic City, and Frank is about 30 years older than I, he was here at the other turn of the century, so he knows how long Yellow Cab has been around. But the fact is that your dad has given so many people an opportunity to feed their families and to live the American dream. And so what happens is now is that we all, as we would say in church, you hold on to the fine memories. Dad, this community will never ever find another Murray Rosenberg, because what he's done on the surface, you'll never be able to measure what he did behind the scenes for folks. And when you ride down Winchester Avenue, you make the turn, I'm so used to him standing on the corner, waving at people, doing his official greeting as you go by, and folks blowing the horn. But we hold on to those memories, and no matter, even if Dad and I disagreed on the issue, it never became personal. We argued, 20 minutes later, him being walked to Colette, would be sitting in the office cracking up laughing. So we go way back, and I want you to know that this town has certainly lost an icon, and in some way, I would hope that the city will find some kind of way to honor his memories and what he has done for this entire region. So with that, we certainly give you our praise and thoughts.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Frank, did you want to say something? Paul, a former freeholder, Joe Nichols, told me never cry, and there's no crying in politics. So you're never supposed to cry in a meeting, but you're almost getting me today, man. And that's because you are a dear friend to me, and your dad was a special guy, and I know, Ernest, that you said there won't be another, I think we're gonna have a close second though with Paul, because you do espouse a lot of his qualities. And don't forget that. You're his living legacy now. And I know he was extremely proud of you, your sister, your family. And we will miss him, but I know he will not let us forget him. Because that's the type of guy that you are. And he, as I said, he certainly left a mark on this city and our whole community. So again, our prayers are with you. Frank, go ahead.
I first met Mary Rosenberg about 25 years ago. There was a political guru in Atlantic City named Edmund Calansky. And for the people that are in this area, Edmund Calansky would be somebody written up in a book. He was a commissioner. And I was just bought the family business around 1986 or so. And Ed Clancy was a friend of my family, and he says, you got to meet this guy. I said, who's this guy? He says, you know, Murray Rosenberg. I don't know any Murray Rosenberg. He says, you're going to like him. He's half Italian. So, anyway, that's true, right? So, he always had to talk with his hands. I knew it was authentic. And through the years, just to make it quick, you know, here's a guy that ran a business, bought his father's business, Vietnam era hero, raised a great family, and very quiet, reserved, but everybody would take input on his advice. He was pro-Atlantic City in every aspect. He was actually worldwide known in the taxi industry, that's correct, right? And was recently awarded right before his death. And I could just say, remember when my father died, Paul, I feel your loss, and this community feels the loss as well. I'm glad to know.
Services are on Saturday, right, Paul? And the information is online. Thank you. Any other comments on Murray Rosenberg? All right. Creed, do you dare to follow that?
I tried to.
Paul, my condolences. Just to lift up, I had a couple of things, but I'll just keep it to one. Next week here is supposed to be a public hearing on food waste. And since there was the big discussion on the bill before, and now that bill got conditionally vetoed, and we're talking about the environment, that was one of the things that I thought perhaps needs some attention.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks. Okay, any other member of the public? Yes, come on up.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to take advantage of having, I have a question for Barbara. Living in this area, would the transit authority, would they ever consider putting some type of a stop to help complement the Atlantic City Airport? So as I drive to Philadelphia to visit family in Nashville and think to myself, different ways that we could complement the ridership. I know I'm in construction, so I'm sure it would take an act of God to bring the spur of the railroad through to the airport, because that would be a home run.
Actually, it is something that we did discuss.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is in plans with some of our work with the Atlantic County Economic Alliance that we're doing as well. We've also talked about how can we accommodate Stockton and Galloway a little bit better. So those are all definitely things. Sorry to answer for you, Barbara.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's fine.
Those are things that we've definitely talked and have discussed as a plan.
Excellent, thank you.
And if you find a flight out of Atlantic City for Nashville, let me know, because I've been looking.
My youngest is going to college there, so awesome.
All right.
But thank you. And Paul, 100 years ago, I used to wash cars for your dad in high school. Thanks, Jerry.
Oh, man. Jerry with a cat hat on. All right, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Any go to the order?
Madam Chair.
I'm going to go to Freeholder Fitzpatrick first.
Thank you, Chair. Two things. Hispanic Heritage Month is from September 15th to October 15th, and now that I'm saying that out loud, I wonder if we can get a resolution for next time.
Are you going to go ahead and sponsor that?
I will.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I will put that in. And then the second thing is, couple of people have said to me, asked me why the public packet that's online doesn't include the backup that we get. And I was wondering if that were possible. I checked it myself this week just to make sure.
It doesn't.
It's just the agenda, I think.
The backup summaries are prepared for freeholders for our benefit.
Okay. They're looking for the details.
Yeah.
Too confidential.
I don't know, I guess we can talk about it, yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Sure. Freeholder Bennett?
Two things that I have. One, I just wanted to recognize that the Family Festival held by First Lady Tammy Murphy.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up.
This past Saturday, addressing, maternal health care in Atlantic City. It was great to see that they're doing them all over the state. But I just wanted to recognize that there's two task forces to address this particular issue. One being head up locally by the NAACP. So we certainly want to just encourage them and recommend them for their efforts. Also, I just wanted to make everyone aware that today is World Suicide Prevention Day. I've been doing suicide prevention crisis work for 9 years. The World Health Organization reports that one person dies every 40 seconds. And so I just want to make everyone aware that there is a crisis team in every county. They are available 24/7. They do go out and do outreaches in the community, but you can call and talk about any particular issue if you are unsure or concerned about anyone who potentially could be unsafe. We see a lot of statements that say, check on this type of friend and check on that type of friend. But I saw a quote today that was particularly poignant, and it said, just because someone carries it doesn't mean it isn't heavy. And so I say check on everyone.
I'm glad you brought that up, Freeholder. It's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month as well. And just so people know, there are a ton of resources. There's a ton of information on our county website, but should you need the information, New Jersey Suicide Prevention Hotline is 855-654-6735. And you can also, if you need it, text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You can text the word BRAVE to 741-741. But there are a whole host of resources out there for you or for your families who may need help going through that.
Correct. And all of those national hotlines do get routed to local screening centers. And so if you call a national hotline, you will then be rerouted to the screening center in your county, and they're able to come out and do an outreach, whether it be your home, whether it be for an adult or a child. We see everyone, it doesn't matter the age or the circumstance, they will come out to the home or bring it into the emergency room to do a full evaluation, try to determine what is the most appropriate and safest resolution and disposition to try to get people out. So.
Great. Thank you, Freeholder. Okay, we're going to my right now. Freeholder Corsi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Stepping up to the mic for this.
Yeah,
We're
I
gonna
gotta
have
step up to the mic.
at the end here, or what?
I hope everybody brought their dinner. On a serious note, I too want to commend Tammy Murphy and the Murphy administration for the Family Festival on Saturday. It was well attended, over 108 participants in it, and that the weather was a whole lot better than it was on Friday. And I thought everybody had a good time. There was so many agencies out there, and we just hope that folks take advantage of the information that was available and use those services that's out there. The reason I wanted to speak now is that I want to just say to this board that yesterday, as most of you read probably in the paper today or the last couple of days, there was a meeting so much of the minds in City Hall with the Lieutenant Governor and some stakeholders in Atlantic County, starting with the county administration led by Mr. Ferguson, me as the freeholder, the mayor, the council president, representatives from the New Jersey Department of Taxation, the school board, a couple of other entities that was there. The bottom line was that we all know that the problem in Atlantic City, which is 118% tax increase, no one saw it coming.
And so at the conclusion of the meeting, the comment was the name calling and the finger pointing has got to be over with. What are the solutions? Folks want relief, and how do we get relief to the residents of Atlantic City? We talked about the pilot bill. We talked about perhaps tax incentives to get folks to come to Atlantic City. We talked about all these properties that's not on the tax roll. I believe the city has about 350 or so pieces of property. We need to make sure that, not we, but they should sell and get the back on the tax roll. CRDA with land banking all over the entire city. See if they can put some of those properties up for sale. Because at the end of the day, my comment has always been, when the casinos were doing well, everybody else did well. When the bottom gave out, everybody ran to the hill, and the people in Atlantic City was left holding the bag, and it was having the bed empty. And so with that, I believe that moving forward, the Lieutenant Governor has made it very clear through CRDA and other agencies, and they're going to break out into some other committees to find ways that we can do some assistance in Atlantic City. But as she indicated, not just in Atlantic City. What struck me yesterday, Jerry, was when she made a comment, she being the Lieutenant Governor, made a comment that there are programs out there that Atlantic City nor have Atlantic County has tapped into, and there's so much money sitting there. My question was, where's the money? How do we access the money? Whether it's for infrastructure in the county, whether it's for the city of Atlantic City. If those dollars are there, we need to collectively see how we can all tap into it. And there's a lot of sandy money still left around, and if it's not used by 2021, 2022, they lose that funding. We, the county, need to find out if in fact there's people that's eligible for some of that money to do various things, or if it's not the county, the city of Atlantic City. Wherever that money can be used, we need to try to tap into it. Another comment she made was, as she was driving into the city, she realized how bumpy some of the streets were. I said, well, I think there are a whole bunch of streets, bumpy streets. But infrastructure, there's money out there, whether it's on the county side or the city side, and perhaps a partnership with the city of Atlantic City and the county of Atlantic to tap into those funds for infrastructure. They made a lot of comments at the table yesterday, and I basically want to say to you, Jerry, and the administration, how do we follow that up in terms of if in fact the city and the county can partner on some of these programs that will benefit residents in Atlantic City and also the county of Atlantic, because she made it very clear that neither agency has tapped into these funds. And what are those funds? I don't particularly know offhand, but I think it's something we need to explore, because if it's there, we need to take a minute and try to get it. If we don't, it goes back to the federal government, and we all should be ashamed of ourselves if we allow that to happen. So we left that meeting some 2.5 hours later, perhaps saying that we're going to reconvene in a couple weeks with stakeholders from the casino industries, and my comment was, that's all good and dandy, but the truth of the matter is, we need folks sitting at the table, from the tax court, the tax attorneys, all of them to come up with solutions. How we solve this problem in Atlantic City? Because if in fact they decide to withdraw or do away with the pilot bill, then where do you go? Everybody's back in free fall in terms of appealing their taxes, and we're right back in the same boat. So if it's a short window for some of those programs, we all collectively need to try to take advantage of it. I'd be more, I don't know if Jim was able to get the contact people's name from the state other than the Lieutenant Governor's office, but in a couple weeks from now, they're going to break out into other committees with the casino representatives, with, again, people with experience with taxes, foreclosures, all that kind of stuff. And my biggest concern has been from the door. We can't allow in Atlantic City again to happen what happened when Sandy came. When Sandy came, folks walked away from their home, they couldn't afford to stay, the taxes killed them, and we all know the story about the 118% tax increase that just hit everybody. So where do we go from this point is very, very important. Leave our egos at the door, because we all collectively have a constituent base to represent, and they don't want to hear about us fighting among each other. They just want to know what the hell is the relief at the end of the day. How do they keep food on their tables, and how do they pay their mortgage, etc. And I think that's the more mundane things that we need to really kind of be looking at. And we would certainly hope that there's not a disconnect because Mr. Ferguson, and I say to be corrected, made it very clear. He made an open request, which I think, Jim, and you tell me if I'm wrong, everybody at the table's eyes lit up. What do you mean you made an open request and you was not able to get the information? That's unacceptable. The law says 7 days. You've got to reply within 7 days. And Jim made a good point of raising that, and the Lieutenant Governor indicated that's unacceptable, will not happen. The mayor made a commitment, the city council made a commitment that is unacceptable, and that any agency, whether it's the county, etc., asks for information. If it's Oprah and it's public, they should be able to have it within 7 days, not September the 20th, whatever those days they talked about yesterday. But I thought Jim Ferguson made a compelling argument yesterday in terms of the lack of information being provided to the county. But let's keep in mind it's a two-way street too. Again, we can blame the state, we can blame the city, we can blame the county. John Key, the public, don't give a rat's tail about none of that. How do they get relief and how do they get it quick? And I think going forward, we would hope to have some of those answers very, very shortly. And she's indicated that particular group yesterday will stay together, but there'll be some other groups that will break out with more authorization, more authority, and with more knowledge on how to help the residents. But again, it wasn't just for Atlantic City, but we know Atlantic City was part of the problem, but she made it very clear that Atlantic City and Atlantic County should reap some of those benefits. And so if it's infrastructure with roads, let's see if we can tap into it. Jim, correct me if I'm wrong.
One thing you gave.
I thought you was on trial yesterday.
An accurate summary of what it is, and as I said yesterday, I think things were well-intentioned, but as I said to the reporter when I left, it's going to take more than just good intentions to solve these problems. These problems have been long in the making. They're not going to be solved overnight, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and hard decision making to solve the problems. So, but I think Freeholder, of course, he gave an accurate summary of what occurred yesterday. Thanks.
Frank, I've been twice today. Right.
Freeholder Corsi, are you,
I reserve the balance of my time.
Okay, Freeholder Formica, how's it?
Yeah, I would just like to say, my astute freeholder has accurately depicted that meeting, but I have to correct one fact. He referred twice to a 118% increase to the Atlantic City non-casino taxpayers by the County of Atlantic over last year to this year. The increase was a clever way to demonstrate to try to show that the county raised taxes when in fact the amount raised by taxation by the County of Atlantic on the Atlantic City non-casino taxpayers last year was $13.2 million. That's an indisputable fact. This year, the amount we are raising by taxation is $11.5 million. So 13.2 to 11.5 is a reduction of approximately 12.8%. The calculation was based on the fact that last year, the County of Atlantic had a refund due to appeals, $7.7 million. So that the increase was artificially demonstrated when you took out the $7.7 million. I just wanted to correct that fact on the record.
Thank you, Freeholder Dace.
First of all, Barbara, I want to thank you for coming and working with the board and for our residents, and as we continue to provide hopefully increased services to the residents of Atlantic County. I also want to remind everyone that school is back in session. Please don't drive through a bus's lights. Make sure you stop. Make sure you keep an eye on the crosswalks. A lot of different students will be biking and walking and coming from different locations than they may have even last year. So please be aware when you're on the roads. And lastly, I kind of want to follow up and echo some things that Freeholder Bennett and Chairwoman Gaddis talked about. in recognition of today being Suicide Awareness Day. A greater number of our students, unfortunately, are committing suicide as well. It's an alarming number. We've seen an increased number of students come into our district in Galloway Township who have severe anxiety. We're looking at several possible causes and reasons for that. A lot of students go to talk about social media. They try to stay away from it, but students try to force their way into their social media, into their online video games, and then unfortunately it carries into the school where they don't feel safe or protected coming into school. So I just want to urge parents, urge grandparents to try to keep an active interest in your child's lives. They're hurting, and it's alarming what I've seen recently the last couple of years, the increased number of students who are suffering from anxiety and to not necessarily mention suicide ideations, but have thoughts and concerns about that or about friends who may have said things. So we just want to urge you to please keep an eye on them moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Hope you survived your first day of school. You did, you're here. Okay, good.
He was on time,
All right, any other good?
Madam Chair, just one thing based on what Freeholder David talked about. Did you see NJAC, New Jersey Association of Counties, that you received?
Yes.
What they had for December the 20th. It deals with increasing suicides and all kind of stealing by nothing. Why don't you know about it, so why don't you?
Yes, there's going to be a meeting, a training through NJAC in regards to suicide prevention and a discussion in December, which is going to be good. I urge everybody to try to attend to talk about some of the resources, talk about some of the challenges in suicide prevention and some of the programs. There's a lot of things that are available. For example, as Freeholder Days is talking about children and potential suicide ideation, there is a contagion that happens with children we see it quite a lot in the screening centers. If a child has either gone to the hospital, you tend to see more and more throughout the same particular school or area. So there is actually a traumatic loss coordinator for different counties that deal with that. They go into schools, they address if has been a person who has committed suicide in the school. Again, the crisis team, the screening centers, they go into the schools, they work with guidance counselors. We do try to keep kids from going to the emergency room, because that in and of itself can be traumatic when you walk into a screening center. But we are available to do outreaches, and typically we like to do them at the school if parents are willing to come and participate in that and do that right in the guidance office to keep kids in their environment. So
Great, thank you.
I'm going to give my whole report next meeting. We just started going back to our committee meetings after the summer. But they did mention that many schools right now, there is programs that they're putting into the health instruction program with helping them deal with mental health. And then there's different levels of it. I believe at Harvard Township, they said has already incorporated this. And there's other towns that right now are in the beginning stage of recording, having that right within their school system and dealing with it at the appropriate levels the right way in these different places.
Thank you.
I'll bring that back forward.
The Superintendent Keenan here. Oakcrest Guidance Department made a wonderful post about the curriculum incorporated into the grade array curriculum that will be delivered to students at 3 high schools there with regard to suicide and youth prevention. So I think there's things we can learn all over the county and certainly a ton of resources. So on that note, before we end, just want to mention today Mays Landing, the old Bank of America building downtown opened but to a group called the Earthly Angels for dementia, but they are a well-being, mental health rest place for people who are not only caregivers of dementia, but caregivers in general. So hospice nurses, you name it. There's a whole gamut of people who provide care to people who are dealing with some very severe illnesses. Ashley, certainly there would be a room for you with the work that you do, but a really, really great cause. The woman who opened it is doing it as a gift to her husband because she lost to dementia, and She has a really inspiring story. It is a totally a nonprofit, donation-funded organization. They've done a wonderful job with the building. They are bringing some really great programs. And again, wrapping their arms around the people who take care of others. So if you or a family member or friends are a caregiver, please pass on that information, let them know about this amazing new resource available to them right downtown Mays Landing, Earthly Angels for Dementia on Facebook if you want to find it there. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.